What if the most repeated debate in football had a definitive answer, but said by someone who was there, in the heart of the game, sharing locker rooms, finals, and silences with the protagonist? And what if that answer didn't come from a journalist or a fan, but from Andres Iniesta, the man who saw Messi from the inside, from the soul of Barcelona, and who in 2025 spoke again, without a filter? Because yes, in a world where every week a new ranking appears, an even more complicated statistic or a forced comparison between Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, there are voices that don't need to shout to be heard. And when Iniesta speaks, football listens, not because of what he says, but because of how he says it. And this time, he said it with a clarity that left more than one person breathless. In a recent interview, already retired and dedicated to training players in Japan, Iniesta touched on the topic that never dies again: who is the best of all time? And he did it with the same calmness with which he handled the tensest matches. Messi is the best for me. The one from before, the one from now, the one who's still evolving. There's no one like him. Just like that, without beating around the bush. But the most interesting thing wasn't the phrase, it was the context. Because in 2025, Messi isn't just still playing, he's still reinventing himself. And that's the point. While Ronaldo maintains his relevance with goals, physicality, and leadership, Messi became something else. A player who no longer needs to run like before, or dribble past 5 defenders to be decisive. At Inter Miami, and especially in the Argentine national team, he became a conductor. Less vertigo, more precision. Less explosiveness, more reading of the game. Iniesta said it with a phrase that seems simple but contains a deep truth. Messi isn't just still the best, now he understands the game like no one else, and that makes him more dangerous than ever. And how could you not believe him? Iniesta shared 482 matches with Messi. He saw him score 412 goals, deliver 150 assists, and lift 32 trophies. He saw him on those magical nights in Rome, Wembley, and Berlin. He saw him in training sessions, in the silences before finals, in the gestures that never make it to the cameras. And what impacts him most today in 2025 is that Messi didn't remain in memory. He evolved, he adapted, and he's still winning. It's curious how time works in favor of some and against others. While many players cling to what they once were, Messi seems to enjoy what he's doing. He no longer needs to prove anything, but he still does. And that, in Iniesta's words, separates him from the rest. I haven't seen anyone do what he does. He made all of us better. And if you have Messi, you have a one-step advantage to win anything. Isn't that what defines true geniuses? Not only shining, but making others shine. Not only winning, but changing the game. Because if Iniesta made something clear, it's that Messi isn't the best only because of his numbers, but because of his impact. Because of how he transforms a team, a fan base, a generation. And here comes the inevitable question. What weighs more in football history? Goals or influence, power or intelligence, the record or the revolution? Because if we're talking about evolution, Messi is playing another sport. And that, in 2025, places him in a category he no longer shares with anyone. What Iniesta said in 2025 about Messi isn't just another opinion in the eternal Messi versus Ronaldo debate. It's a statement that, if listened to carefully, reveals something much deeper. How time can turn a player into a legend, and a legend into a symbol. Because when Iniesta, the quiet architect of the greatest Barca in history, talks about the topic again, he doesn't do it from nostalgia or fanaticism. He does it from experience, from having shared 482 matches with Messi, from having seen him grow, change, adapt, and continue winning. And what he says is no small thing. Messi is the best for me, the one from before, the one from now, the one who's still evolving. That phrase, which seems simple, contains a truth many still refuse to accept. Messi isn't just the best because of what he did, but because of what he's still doing. And that, in 2025, is more evident than ever. Because while Ronaldo maintains his dominance with goals, physicality, and leadership, Messi became something else. A player who no longer needs to run like before or dribble past 5 defenders to be decisive. At Inter Miami, and especially with the Argentine national team, he became a conductor. Less vertigo, more precision. Less explosiveness, more reading of the game. And that, in Iniesta's words, makes him more dangerous than ever. Isn't it curious how football rewards adaptation? Because if something distinguishes the greats from the geniuses, it's the ability to reinvent themselves. And Messi did. He's no longer the winger who broke lines with speed. Now he's the brain who decides when to accelerate, when to slow down, when to assist. And he does it with a naturalness that seems impossible, as if the game spoke to him in another language, as if he saw things others cannot. Iniesta experienced it firsthand. He saw it in training sessions, in matches, in pressure moments. He saw him score 412 goals, give 150 assists, and lift 32 titles. He saw him in Rome, in Wembley, in Berlin. And what impacts him most today in 2025 is that Messi didn't remain in the past. He evolved, adapted, and kept winning. And that, in this context, is what separates him from Ronaldo. Because while Cristiano is still a competitive machine, Messi became a machine of understanding. And that, in a sport that is increasingly tactical, more physical, more accelerated, is a brutal difference. Because Messi doesn't need to run faster than everyone else. He only needs to think faster. And that, at 38 years old, makes him a unique player. Now then, what does this mean for football? What message does this evolution leave? That talent doesn't run out. That intelligence can outperform physicality. That vision can replace speed. And that true legacy isn't in records, but in the way one plays. Because Messi didn't just win titles, he changed the game. He made it more technical, more cerebral, more aesthetic. And that, in Iniesta's words, makes him the #1 in history. And what do you think? Did Messi become better with time? Or did we simply learn to understand him more? Did football catch up to him? Or did he get ahead of it? Leave it in the comments, subscribe if you like this kind of content, and stay tuned, because what's coming is even deeper. Because when Iniesta speaks, it doesn't just close a debate, it opens a new way of looking at football. The conclusion from this new statement by Iniesta in 2025 isn't simply that Messi is the best. It's that Messi redefined what it means to be the best. It's no longer just about goals, assists, or titles. It's about evolution, football intelligence, collective impact. While many players cling to what they once were, Messi became what football needed him to be. And he did it without losing his essence. Iniesta saw it from the inside, lived it firsthand, and now confirms it from a distance with a clarity that needs no embellishment. Because when someone who shared 482 matches with you says he has no doubts, he's not giving an opinion, he's testifying. Messi isn't just still relevant, he's still teaching. And in that sense, the debate is no longer who was better, but who is still the most influential. Because if football is art, strategy, and emotion, Messi is its most complete version. Now it's your turn. Do you think Messi reached a level that can no longer be compared to anyone? Or do you think Ronaldo's legacy is still just as strong? I'll read you in the comments. And if you like this kind of content, subscribe, because what's coming will keep challenging everything you thought you knew about football.